Critical Role collabs with Assassin's Creed, Elon Musk gets busted boosting in Path of Exile 2, and D&D makes their new dragons more deadly. Welcome to Fantasy News Friday on the Character Sheet, your home for the week's biggest fantasy and TTRPG news. Before we break down the latest from Critical Role, Dungeons & Dragons, and more, why not take a second to hit those like and subscribe button to help us keep growing, and then let's dive into the news.
Issue number 1 is the first issue we're going to talk about.
Critical Role has announced a one-shot in collaboration with the upcoming Assassin's Creed Shadows video game that will debut next Tuesday, as long as the cast returns to putting out content next week in the wake of those terrible fires in LA. Please see our last video for more details on that and how you can help out. But this new one-shot will also feature two Critical Role newcomers, Peter Shinkota and Emily Pixford, both seasoned actors and coincidentally both Canadian, as America's Hat is apparently invading this new one-shot. Peter Shinkota is probably best known for his role as Nobu in Netflix's Daredevil series, and Emily Pickford was a main cast member on the comedy Strays. They will be joining Matt Mercer, Liam O'Brien, and Robbie Damon, who is appearing in yet another one-shot despite allegedly not being on the payroll at Critical Role, but this was taped while Campaign 3 was still ongoing, so that at least makes a bit of sense. Critical Role video game one-shots have been some of their very best standalone content, with their Elden Ring and Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdoms one-shots being incredibly entertaining and featuring some truly memorable moments and characters.
You never heard of a horse stack? You stack a bunch of horses, make a horse lather.
And Assassin's Creed Shadows brings a ton of lore to the table for the cast to dive into. Weirdly, this collab was supposed to help promote the February launch of Assassin's Creed Shadows, but in the few days since this one-shot was announced, the game's devs have come forward and revealed that Assassin's Creed Shadows will now release over a month later on March 20th instead of February 15th. So with the timing of this one-shot now not as close to the game launch as Ubisoft may have hoped, could we see another delayed Critical Role stream? We'll probably find out very early next week, as it's scheduled to air this Tuesday.
I'm afraid you'll just have to wait.
Elon Musk was seemingly busted trying to pass off a boosted Path of Exile 2 hardcore account as his own in a somewhat disastrous live stream on X this week. Path of Exile 2, an ARPG in the style of Diablo, has been a massive hit since its release just a few weeks back, and Elon Musk, who infamously was called out on his basically nonsense Elden Ring build, which he tried to pass off as the one he used to allegedly beat the game a few years back, has apparently returned to his old stomping grounds of lying about beating games with this new Path of Exile 2 release. Musk, who late last year became the #1 Diablo 4 player globally in a record speedrun that many believe was done by a different player on a boosted account, tried to prove the doubters wrong by streaming a game of Path of Exile 2 with his level 95 hardcore character. The problem was there were a ton of red flags that this account wasn't his to begin with, and he was again using a boosted account, i.e. an account that was clearly leveled and created by a much better player and then just passed over to Musk to stream.
He literally didn't know how to open a map.
There were telltale signs like maps labeled in the third person as quote-unquote Elon's maps, Musk not appearing to know how to use any of these maps or any of the common hotkeys, Musk not appearing to know which nodes were actually difficult or how to access them, and having no loot filter, and also just completely ignoring some of the game's most valuable drops. And basically, he was just called out for having no real understanding of how the game was played or even how good his god-tier gear was, calling some of his items, which were easily some of the best items you can possibly get in the game, sort of mediocre because he didn't understand the item level system.
Level 52 here, level 52 here.
Like, this is crazy.
That's the best glove in the game by like a colossal. It's the most OP item in the game by a colossal margin.
It was so bad that even streamers like Asmongold got in on the action, roasting the billionaire for his obvious boosting.
I think he is account sharing, for sure, 100%.
Trying to have somebody play your account and get people to think that you're a serious, real gamer is ridiculous. It's embarrassing.
Path of Exile 2 is one of the biggest fantasy games of 2024 and 2025 so far, giving massive competition to games like Diablo 4. But much like Elden Ring before it, it seems like Musk was once again caught in a lie about actually playing the game he claimed to be so good at. And finally, Dungeons & Dragons is rolling out more Monster Manual teasers ahead of the book's release. And the big focus in their most recent video is making dragons more powerful in the new 2024 rule set. Besides more fully fleshing out the unusual dragons, subtypey kind of creatures like half-dragons or even shadow dragons by giving them their own unique, more fully fleshed out stat blocks, the design team at D&D also decided to give dragons in general more firepower when it came to spells and legendary actions to really beef up the challenge of facing a dragon. First off, dragons now have a baked-in spellcasting ability in adult and older dragons, so that in the word of the devs, you don't have to just worry about a breath weapon and then several rounds of being batted around by claws and bite attacks. You now have to worry about that dragon suddenly casting Fireball at you as well. While spellcasting was an option in 2014 rules, in 2024 it seems like dragons who hit the adult threshold will just have access to these spells in a bid to make them a more powerful opponent or ally. Legendary actions are also being upgraded to be more than just additional attacks or a swipe of the dragon's tail. They now include powerful, thematically appropriate abilities, like a black dragon using a legendary action to summon a swarm of biting swamp insects to harass the party, or a blue dragon creating a sonic boom that acts like a massive shatter spell. Hilariously, one of the legendary actions for the new gold dragon is to simply banish players. Basically, the gold dragon is sending unruly PCs into astral timeout to think about what they did. Dragons also got more tools in dealing with players in their lair, as not only do they maintain their lair actions, which also got a big buff, but being in their lair grants them additional uses of their legendary actions and grants them legendary resistances. Meaning attacking a dragon in their own lair becomes far more challenging than it was in the 2014 rules. And some dragons now even mechanically attract more followers and defenders to their homes, with black dragons attracting the undead from surrounding swamps to help them guard their own lairs, for example. We also got to see that the new dragon turtle is absolutely massive, with the devs pointing out that they were really leaning into the fact that while gargantuan monsters may have a minimum footprint in terms of size, there is no maximum, meaning the new dragon turtle absolutely dwarfs the ships that sail the ocean above it. All in all, the Monster Manual has been about making high CR creatures actually feel like a more substantial challenge, and with dragons occupying a lot of those high challenge rating slots in the Monster Manual, they have seen a big increase in power as a result. And so the days of just rolling into a dragon's lair with your 8th level party and taking out an adult dragon may be coming to an end once the book releases in just a few weeks. And that's all we have for Fantasy News Friday today. Let us know what your favorite segment was down in the comment section, and please don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons.